My name's Chris Nichols. We're here on location on my family farm here in North Texas. I wanted to share with you today a little bit about my background and some of the things that I've done in my life that led me to become a mechanical engineer. When I was a kid growing up, we grew up on a family farm. My dad was a farmer. Machines and the way they worked always fascinated me. Didn't matter what kind of machine it was, tractors, whatever. They always fascinated me in how they worked and always wanted to learn more about them. When I was growing up also, I always had some type of power sport. ATVs, go-karts, some crazy contraption my dad and I would come up with and build in our shop just to see if it would go, whether it would stop. Sometimes you're a little nervous when you got on these things because you never knew what was about to happen. But it was always something I had a big passion about. So when I got a little bit older, we had a family storage building out behind our house, and I took it over and put a sign over the door and called it the shop. The shop is where I would escape and teach myself how things worked, such as my go-kart or my ATV. I simply just took it upon myself to tear the things down, see if I could put them back together, which most of the time I could. Sometimes I'd get myself in a jam. But that's how I taught myself how these machines worked. A couple of times I even got a hold to the family lawnmower. That didn't go over too well with my parents. So what was good about this stuff is I taught myself how these machines went together, how they functioned. I was able to make repairs to them, make modifications, make enhancements to them when I wanted to. It was an area of my life that I knew I was going to pursue later to a further degree. When it came time when I was in high school to make a decision about the degree I was going to go after, engineering, of course, lined up with exactly where my interests were at, especially mechanical engineering. I chose mechanical not only because of the machinery side, but it's such a diverse degree that I was able to go do whatever I wanted to when I got out of school. So I pursued my mechanical engineering degree from Texas A&M University. While I was there, I got to work on a pretty crazy senior project. We were given the task to design the Aggie chicken cannon. Yep, I said the Aggie chicken cannon. We simply designed a machine that was going to have the ability to launch frozen chickens at the front end of an airplane wing at speeds over 500 miles an hour to study the damage that they would cause. Yeah, only a group of Aggies can come up with some crazy stuff like that. Today I wanted to share with you a little bit more about a project that I did here at my home with my kids to give you an idea that I'm not your typical engineer. I think way outside the box, and I have fun with what I learned to do through school and the things that I did growing up as a kid. So what it is, my kids took on the same passions that I did. They loved power sports. We got them ATVs at a young age. My son was actually, I think, 6 years old when we got his first ATV. My daughter was only 4 at the time, and we got her a little one. Well, my son one day saw ATV motocross on TV, and he said, "Dad, I want to try this out." So I said, "Son, I love it. I love the sport. Let's see what we can do to figure out what we can do to your machine that you got," which was the Yamaha Raptor 80. "And get it ready to race motocross if you want to go try it. I don't want to put a lot of money into it. We're going to figure out how we can make yours work." So we had an old scrapped Honda 250X behind the shed, and I thought to myself, could we take these two machines and merge them together and build a hybrid quad that would give him something to ride, that would perform where it needs to perform, be safe for him, and allow him to compete most of all. So what we ended up doing is I took that machine and I figured out, could this front end be cut off of this Raptor 80 and replaced with the front end off the 250X? The reason for doing that is the Raptor 80, it had a unistrut design front end, which was basically a single member tube column front end with 2 shocks attached to it. And as you can imagine, very poor suspension design for any type of racing that you do, much less just riding around in our yard out here. It used to beat him to death, I can remember. So the 250X had a dual A-arm suspension system, which is the more optimal design for any type of racing, any type of terrain. Any of the high-tech race quads that you see on today's market have the dual A-arm suspension with performance shocks and things like that on it. So in order to get him to a point where he needed to be, we had to figure out a way to merge these two machines together. So after investigation, that's exactly what we were able to do. So I'm going to show you that machine today and explain a few of the things that we had to keep in mind as we looked at it and while we fabricated this machine to give us the results that we wanted